What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PFF NFL show. Back in the studio. Well, I'm on the road, but the fellas are back in the studio to recap what was a fantastic week in Mobile at the Senior Bowl with, of course, the only way we know how, and that is a post-Senior Bowl mock draft. We're going to have a lot of fun on this show, getting to talk about a lot of our takes on just sort of course, like not every single pick is going to be a Senior Bowl player. But we were on the field, we were out afterwards, we were talking to media people, and you just get a lot of intel on what the feeling is of the 2026 NFL Draft, which players you think are going a little bit higher. So all of that gives us a lot of changes here for the first mock draft post-Senior Bowl. Fellas, how are we feeling? I know you're fresh off the plane. You're fresh off the plane straight to the studio, baby. You guys' work ethic like no other. How are we feeling?
Fresh off the layover in Houston. We've been here for maybe in the studio for maybe all of 20 minutes, and it's at least a little bit warmer. It's t-shirt weather in here. A little climate control. We can get a little bit more energy going to us when it's not 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, Trevor, I'm already battling a cold from the Senior Bowl this past week, but it was a lot of fun at the Senior Bowl this past week. You said we're not picking all Senior Bowl players. I thought that's what we were doing here. I was very prepared to take Diego Pavia, number 1 overall to the Raiders, but I guess we're not doing that. I was going to say,
good luck when we get to 28 and 29 if that's what we're doing here. Max, I did really enjoy your tweet this morning, though, I do have to say, where you were like, my favorite part about the Senior Bowl is me just putting my body through all sorts of hell because of my diet and then trying to critique these all-world athletes on the field, whether they're good or not for the NFL.
Yeah, Trevor, I'm watching these guys, and they're like, oh, he looks a little slow out there. As I'm like shoveling a cheeseburger into my mouth. So, yeah, it's always like a really ironic week when you're like, oh, yeah, that guy didn't look too great out there. Meanwhile, you're just destroying your body with all the fast food that you're eating at the Senior Bowl.
We're going to throw a ton of numbers here at you here on the show as we explain why these guys are good fits for certain teams. You guys can see a lot of those numbers for yourself with a PFF Plus subscription. You guys are going to see, of course, the mock draft simulator on the screen as well, which you can run as many mock drafts as you want with that PFF sub. So subscribe.pff.com, best way to get that. And let's do it. Let's fire up the mock draft simulator, which I will say to all the people out there, freshly updated. Over the last 2 or 3 days, I have been putting more players in there, some guys that I didn't quite get in there before the Senior Bowl. Then we got a good look at them. It's like, all right, well, I think that this is probably an appropriate round, an appropriate spot for a lot of these guys. We even got John Carroll University represented here. We even got Tyron Montgomery into the mock draft simulator. So I don't think we're getting Ty Montgomery into this first round mock draft. But it's just to let you guys know, we've got even more players in there. I've updated the ranking for a lot of the guys that were already in the mock draft simulator. So it truly is draft season, baby. We've got things updated, and we're ready for you guys to use the mock draft simulator as well. We'll each pick for a certain team, and I believe, Max, you're going to start. You're going to kick us off here with the Las Vegas Raiders. Dalton, you are setting the tone, I would say, in this draft with what people believe starts at 2 with the New York Jets, and then I'll pick for the Cardinals at number 3, and then we'll just continue in that order. So, Max, you have the floor here at number 1 overall with Fernando Mendoza. I mean, for the Las Vegas.
I just want to shout out someone in the chat real quick, just calling me the Mike Evans of cheeseburger smashing real quick. Just kind of shout out to the NFL SC reference right there. I love that. But yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a very easy pick. Fernando Mendoza will be a Las Vegas Raider come April. This is not a very hard one at all. He's very easily the top quarterback in this class. The Raiders need a quarterback right now. He was the Heisman Trophy winner, won a national title at Indiana, of all places, one of the worst programs historically in college football. He was the best quarterback, the best player in college football this year. He is the easy number one pick here.
Easiest pick in the draft is the first one. Love it. Move on to number 2 with the New York Jets. Obviously not a second quarterback on the board for them to look at necessarily. I don't think Ty Simpson's going this high. Maybe later in the first round we'll think about it. So it looks to me like we've got to pick between some of the elite defensive players in the draft. Trevor, I'm going to go with the number 2 guy on your board right here, Ruben Bain Jr. from Miami. And obviously you can decide between, the pass rush ability of him and Arvell Reese possibly and David Bailey as well. But one of the big difference makers with Bain to me is that he's an elite run defender, right? He's so powerful. He can move all around the line of scrimmage. To me, the more I watch him, the more he's a cheat code in the run game. He can fix both your pass rush and your run defense, be that big presence off the edge and even move inside a little bit. He's a tone setter for any defense he goes into. I think to me, this is a best player available sort of situation. And if I'm picking between 2 guys, honestly, that's Ruben Bain or it's Caleb Downs. I'm going to go with Bain. I'm going to build the Jets in the trenches.
I got no problem with that. I am a Ruben Bain Jr. guy. Like he would be the player that I would take for the Jets as well. But I'm curious. I just do want to ask you a follow-up. Like, let's say Ruben Bain was not in this draft. David Bailey and Arvell Reese, I think, are two players that have really high ceilings if you look at the pros, but then there are some cons for them. And okay, is David Bailey a total like 3-down player? Is there an exact position for Arvell Reese? I'm just curious, like for the Jets specifically, who would have been your backup plan here? Like, who's number two for you? Do you feel a certain way about Bailey or Reese where they would be the next guy for New York?
I would probably go David Bailey. He's led the nation in pass rush grade the last 2 years. We've seen that elite pass rush ability. Not that Arvell Reese doesn't have that potential in him, but you know me, I usually go with players that I've seen produce as opposed to the potential, right? And I get the idea with Reese, if he moves to the edge full time, he's that good an athlete. Or if you feel like he could be one of the best linebackers in the league or be a hybrid, something like that. But to me, I think what I've seen out of Bailey the last 2 years, I would trust that a little bit more.
Didn't you just say you would take Caleb Downs, though, right?
Well, that's the other option too. Is I would heavily consider Caleb Downs, but I also know it's the safety bit, and,
right.
And if we're being a little bit predictive here, I don't think they're going to do it.
Agreed.
I would highly consider it. I think Bain and Downs are the two biggest game changers in this draft. I really do.
Yeah, I do agree with you. One of the things that I feel like I heard a lot in Mobile at the Senior Bowl is a lot of people are talking about Caleb Downs because there's a lot of different opinions. I can't really find anybody who thinks he's a bad player because he's certainly not. I don't think there's anything that we've seen from him over the last 3 years that would bring up the word bad or even average. But I think there was more like, yeah, he's good. Is he great? Especially from the athletic perspective. I heard a lot more reservations about people saying like, yeah, I don't really know if he's going to test like an elite athlete. And because of that, is he going to go a little bit later in the draft than we think? And you mentioned, Dalton, that we're kind of towards the season where we're getting a little bit more predictive with how we're doing our mock drafts. And so very interesting that you would say like, hey, I'd consider Caleb Downs here at number 2, even though I think he is in all likelihood going to be drafted certainly lower than number 2, but we'll see in this mock draft where he ends up going and a good fit. So the Cardinals are sitting here at number 3, and this is my first pick. I'd love for them to go offensive line. I was one of the people that was trying to be as loud as possible last year with like, hey, I understand that they're trying to get a lot of defensive talent for Jonathan Gannon to be able to work with, but that offensive line is not good enough. I think that a lot of people looked at what Drew Petzing was able to do in his first year as offensive coordinator. They were like, oh yeah, it's just gonna continue to go up. And I looked at that offensive line and felt like that was going to be a major reason why they wouldn't. And they've got good pass catchers. They've got good running backs when they're healthy. We'll see at the quarterback position what ends up happening. I think that Ty Simpson could potentially be on the board here for them at number 3. I think Francis Mauigoa, who, in my opinion, probably has the highest floor of the top offensive tackles that we're thinking about. Maybe you think about him at number 3, but number 3 is not really a draft spot where you want to pigeonhole yourself into just like need. I think that you really want to give yourself the ability to pick the best football players. I'm going to take Arvell Reese here at number 3. I'm going to take him to be that true second-level defender where I see him more as an off-ball linebacker. He can do some good things for you with speed to power when he's blitzing and playing on the edge, but I do think he is at his best when he can seek and destroy, when he can hunt. He reminds me so much of Edgerrin Cooper and how good Edgerrin Cooper has been as just an attacking off-ball linebacker for the Green Bay Packers. I think the Cardinals, for as much as they've got talent throughout the rest of their defense, they are still missing that type of a player. And again, at number 3, I don't really want to just force this just to force it. So instead, I'm taking a guy who I think has got a really, really high ceiling, albeit one that still needs to develop in a true position, but a guy who is super talented in Arvell Reese there with the Cardinals.
I think it makes a lot of sense. The Cardinals linebackers, to me, are the weakest part of their defense, and he gets back with his old Ohio State teammate there, Cody Simon, as well.
Yep. Max, Tennessee Titans, number 4.
Yeah, that was exactly my pick right there, Trev, and Arvell Reese. So thanks for that.
Yeah, too bad, brother.
But I'm gonna look at the offense here. Actually, I'm gonna try to build more around Cam Ward, and I know there's a big debate right now who the top receiver in this class is between Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, even a Mekhi Lemon, who I thought was the best receiver in college football this past year. I'm gonna go with Carnell Tate here. the Ohio State wideout to the Tennessee Titans, and hopefully he and Elikai Matter, another bigger receiver there in Tennessee, can form a dynamic duo there for Cam Ward. But with Arvell Reese off the board, with Ruben Bain off the board as well, another guy I was looking at for Tennessee. Thought about David Bailey for a second, because I do think Tennessee needs that impact pass rusher like him, but I also really want to build around Cam Ward in Brian Dable's offense there in Tennessee. So I'm going to take Carnell Tate here, the Ohio State wideout, to the Titans.
I think that's reasonable. Sorry, Trev. I think the pass rush also, it's going to be interesting what Robert Saleh wants to do with that team.
True.
If he feels like he wants an edge rusher to start this thing off with, but either way, they have needs at both defensive end and at wide receiver. Either one makes sense.
I think so too, and I think that just an overall theme maybe for their offseason, I've talked about this with some Titans people, is just answering the question, what is J.C. Latham? Is he the offensive tackle? Are you going to kick him into guard? Because if you think that he's more of a long-term guard, well, all of a sudden now tackle becomes a really big need for this team. So I think that you guys are totally right. Having a one-on-one pass rush winner for Robert Saleh is big. Getting another wide receiver is big, but also sneaky. Answering that J.C. Latham question, I think, is going to be very important as well. Dalton, you're staying in New York, from the Jets to the Giants. What are you thinking at number 5 here?
I'm going to make it back-to-back. Wandale Robinson is a free agent. We don't know if or when the Giants will bring him back yet, or if he's going to sign somewhere else coming off his first 1,000-yard receiving season. Malik Neighbors coming off the torn ACL, but this team needs more receiving weapons for Jackson Dart on the outside. I think John Harbaugh is going to try to build around his quarterback. I'm going to go with the other receiver that Max just mentioned in the Tennessee debate. Give me Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. Really good intermediate route runner. I think he's going to really complement Malik Neighbors' explosiveness down the field. He's going to get a lot of looks against zone coverage, and Dart's going to trust him a lot in third down situations, solid in contested situations, intermediate routes, good against man coverage. I think Jordan Tyson's a piece that can really add to this Giants offense. I'm going to build around Jackson Dart here at number 5.
Man, look at you guys just taking wide receiver right off the board before Cleveland comes up at number 6. Do I dare make it 3 in a row? I think Mekhi Lemon's good enough to be a top 10 overall pick. Ultimately, though, no, I am not going to take wide receiver. I think that's a major need for them. I know a lot of people like, plugging Carnell Tate in there, low moving costs, as we say over at NFLSC. I think Jordan Tyson is certainly worthy of that selection. I think Mekhi Lemon is as well. But getting back to the theme of offensive line, I am going to take Francis Mauigoa here. I am going to take the offensive tackle, because it's basically the same thing of sort of what I talked about with the Cardinals. I looked at Cleveland last year, and I was shocked at how little they invested in their offensive line, given how old the offensive line was and how unknown it was going to be long term at the offensive tackle spots. And so to me, you just need steady. You need stability. And is Francis Mauigoa Penei Sewell? Is he Tristan Wirfs? No, I don't think that that's the case. But I do think that this is a 2-contract type of an offensive tackle for you. And you can't say that and just brush it off as if it's nothing if you get the opportunity to take these guys every single year, because you don't. So Mauigoa, to me, is immediately one of the most talented offensive linemen that is on the team, even with some of those veterans still on the depth chart now before we get to free agency. I just think that he is somebody that Todd Monken desperately needs for some stability and some long-term answers along the offensive line. So I'm going Mauigoa from Miami, who had a really great year. You guys obviously know that very well, covering Miami as good as anybody possibly could, all the way to their national championship run. So Mauigoa was a big part of that.
Trev, there's one reason why Miami made it as far as it did in college football this year, all the way to the national title game. It's trenches. And you can see right here, 2 of the top 6 picks, Ruben Bain Jr., Francis Mauigoa. I bet we get Akeem Azador later on in this mock draft as well. I mean,
you better believe it, brother. You better believe it.
Yeah, he was unreal this year, too. Their trenches, they were the best team in college football in terms of offensive line and defensive line combination, and it explains a lot right here. Well, like I said, 2 of the top 6 picks coming from Miami's trenches.
You're on the
Max,
clock, Washington.
You're up next.
So this is really hard for me, because those 2 top players on the board you see right there on the PFF mock draft simulator are the 2 guys I'm looking at for Washington, because I think their defense just needs so much help. I think David Bailey would be great for them as a pass rusher. However, Caleb Downs is the most can't-miss player, I think, in this draft. Washington had the third worst coverage grade of any team in the NFL this season, too. Caleb Downs, I just think he's going to be a star in the NFL. And I don't really see – maybe he could bust, but I think he's going to be at least a pretty good safety in the NFL, if not an elite one. So I'm going to take Caleb Downs here to the Washington Commanders. So like I said, they just need star power on that defense at any position right now. And Caleb Downs, like Dalton said before, I really do believe he's probably the best player in the draft.
I think he's a game changer. I think he's the safest pick in the draft, and especially for that defense and that secondary, like you mentioned, this is an absolute need. You take the best player on the board. To me, I know we have it flipped right here for partially for the sake of being predictive here, but I think Caleb Downs is the best player on the board. The Commanders really should take him if he's there at 7.
Max, it's funny. I don't think you were looking right at Dalton when you said this, but you were like, I mean, he could bust, and Dalton just goes, no. Like he immediately just shakes his head, he's like, no.
Well, I don't want to be I don't want to be old ticks exposed 5 years from now if he does not having a great career. So I was like, oh, there's a
all
chance.
All pub is good pub, baby. As long as they tag you, as long as they put the Twitter handle there.
That's true.
All pub is good pub. Dalton, what about you with the New Orleans Saints?
All right, this is the first team where I would start thinking about this. I know we've got some other needs, maybe some depth at wide receiver behind Chris Olave, interior defensive line, interior offensive line, but the guy that I really love for the Saints at 8, ironically enough that I said it that way, is the top running back in the draft. By far, this team needs to jumpstart their run game, balance this offense. Tyler Shuck made progress. You can find receiver and interior help later, especially when you talk about interior offensive and defensive line. We can work on that in day 2. If you want the one true impact running back, to me right now, full stop, you take Jeremiah Love at number 8. You balance this offense, and if you can get the trenches just a little bit better in free agency, especially in the interior at those guard spots, and maybe take a day 2 guard as well, now I think Kellen Moore has his Saquon Barkley. This is where I would go with the 8th pick if I'm the Saints. I understand there's other trench needs, but this is a trench-heavy draft, and I can find that later. I'm taking Jeremiah Love at number 8.
I think that it's certainly an option for them. I think the question with Jeremiah Love, when you're going through these mock drafts, and certainly when you're selecting him in the top 10, it is never going to be like, is he a good enough football player? I think that everybody would tell you he's a good enough football player for that. But I think the other part of the question is the team ready, right? Like we kind of saw that with Vegas, where Vegas drafts Ashton Genty, and it's not that Ashton Genty's a bad player, but now you look at it a year later, you go, man, were they ready for a premium running back investment like that? And I think that there's plenty of reasons to say that they could have been, and it just wasn't a good year for them. But Dalton, just are the Saints ready for that kind of investment? And do you think that it just kind of goes into being in line with Tyler Shuck and making the offense more talented?
Definitely still need to improve in the trenches. That has to be a priority both before and even during later in the draft if they're going to do this. They need to really evaluate, I think, their 2 guard spots especially, but they've been building this offensive line. Eric McCoy is still really good at center when he's healthy. Kelvin Banks really came on at left tackle the second half of the year. Talisa Fuaga is going to be going into year 2 playing right tackle, his natural position. I think it's going to continue to get better, and Kellen Moore wants to run the football, and I think we saw enough out of Tyler Shuck this season to go, okay, the Saints passing game is a threat, especially when he's protected. You balance this out more, because there was too many games where Shuck was throwing 40, 45, 50 times. Take the load off him, let him be a little more efficient, and I think Love can add the explosive element on the ground that this team is missing, because you watch a lot of Saints games last year, they were incapable of running the football. Yeah. They'll be very capable with Jeremiah in there.
Makes sense. That part certainly checks out for what Jeremiah Love is able to bring to the table. Before we get to the Chiefs at number 9, this PFF betting segment brought to you by our friends over at DraftKings. A lot of Super Bowl odds, a lot of Super Bowl prop bets that are out there. And man, one that Dalton and I were talking a lot about is what the Seattle Seahawks defense could be doing to make Drake May very uncomfortable. And something that we talked about, a game plan that they could have, is leaning into those zone coverages, playing those 2 high coverages. They ran a ton of quarters and cover 6 to, just have a lot of disguise in what they were doing on the back end, but they made sure that they had those deep defenders there. When you play that zone coverage, that also limits how much Drake May is able to utilize his legs, because they've got so much speed a lot of times playing from those nickel formations. And so playing in those 2 high zone coverage shells could really be the key to limiting Drake May and making him still struggle like he kind of has throughout this postseason. DraftKings Sportsbook, the number 1 sportsbook for live betting. It's making every snap, every drive, every moment of the Super Bowl 60 count with DraftKings Live Millions, featuring over $5 million in prizes just for betting live. Here's how simple it is. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and receive a promo token. Place a live bet of $1 or more on the Super Bowl, and you're automatically entered. That's it. And then every live bet means another shot to win. Place a live bet, stack your entries all Sunday long. Once the game wraps up, we'll randomly select our prize winners. There will be more than 100,000 winners. The question is, will you be one of them? So jump in, bet live, and let the entries roll for a shot at over $5 million in prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code PFF. That's promo code PFF. Bet live for your share at $5 million in prizes with promo code PFF in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or just text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. No purchase necessary. Opt-in required. Minimum odds are minus 500. Prizes either bonus bets or single use 20% profit boost. Max bet $20 that expires within 30 days. See official rules for entry period and free method of entry. Sponsored by Crown Gaming Incorporated. That puts the Kansas City Chiefs on the board here at number 9.
Don't do it to me, Trav, please. I'm the Bengals, and I'm begging you not to do it to me here at number 9.
David Bailey never makes it this far.
Don't do it to me.
He never makes it this far. I feel like I have to. If I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, what are you telling me? The Chiefs wouldn't draft David Bailey if he was sitting staring at him right there at number 9 overall?
David Bailey, George Karlaftis, Chris Jones. Man,
I'm sorry, Bengals fans. David Bailey, you are.
Damn it.
Wow.
A Kansas City Chiefs.
Damn it.
Again, it's it's going to be interesting because a lot of people talk about like a Steve Spagnuolo type of defensive lineman, and a lot of times it is. It's more heavy-handed, bigger guys. They've got more length to him. And David Bailey, he's not built like that traditional player, but he doesn't. What he brings to the table isn't traditional either in a great way, and that is that first step explosiveness. He is just so rare in how he can attack those outside shoulders. And for as much as Steve Spagnuolo doesn't have a ton of these types of players, I don't think he's ever had the opportunity to get a player like David Bailey. So this, I can't see him get past 9. Sorry, Max. Can't see it. Can't see it.
He sure wouldn't get past 10 if he got to number 10 either. And you mentioned it before, Trev. I mean, he had the best pass rush grade in the country last year at Stanford. The best pass rush grade in the country this year at Texas Tech, too. He is an unbelievable pass rusher, 80-plus run defense grade this year, too. Got a lot better in that respect, too. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of David Bailey, who I think could be worth a top 5 pick in the draft, so getting him there at 9 at Kansas City would have been a dream for them, and it would have been an unbelievable dream for the Bengals at number 10.
Well, you're up. What are you going to do with it, huh?
Really good backup plan I have here, though, in Peter Woods, the D tackle out of Clemson, who you can see the PFF grades right there, 72.2 this past year. Obviously a career low for him at Clemson. It wasn't a great year for Clemson all around. I unfortunately know that very, very well, picking them to win the national title. Preseason not looking too great there. But Peter Woods, overall, you look at his PFF grades in his career, 87.6, 83.7. This guy is really, really powerful for his size and also very, very quick for his size, too. And we've seen this guy be a superstar for his first 2 years, and he still was a pretty solid player in his third year at Clemson, too. So I still think Peter Woods is worth a top 15 or so pick in the draft. And for a Bengals team that just needs more on their defensive line with all the top edge rushers like Ruben Bain and David Bailey gone, I would look at a guy like Peter Woods here on the interior of that defensive line.
Really, really quick, just because obviously you're talking about Peter Woods there. Somebody that I think is an underrated player to go to both the Kansas City Chiefs or potentially the Cincinnati Bengals for Senior Bowl shout out here. Caleb Banks.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Caleb Banks' range kind of start here at 9 and 10. I mean, both of those teams would love a player like this. I think it was a little bit of a slow burn for Banks, who didn't do a ton on that first day of practice. But, man, when day 2 and day 3 came around, the best of Caleb Banks are some of the best plays that we saw from any player all week long. So I really do believe that this is somebody who was sort of like a mid-first round guy that we talked about going into the season, had the foot injury, didn't play much this past season. But, man, he showed you the flashes once again in Mobile. I wonder if he starts to get that potential top 10 talk for those teams that are at the back end of the top 10.
And, Trev, honestly, he had more at stake than I would say any player at the Senior Bowl this week, because he only played in 3 games this past year at Florida. So if he went out there and looked a little sluggish and didn't look as good, people were like, all right, he is definitely a day 2 guy. I'm not taking the guy who just missed 9 games with an injury and still doesn't look right at the Senior Bowl, but he came out there and he dominated at the Senior Bowl. I think he really did solidify himself as a first-round pick, and now people are like, all right, yeah, he's definitely a first-round pick. I don't care what happened. I know he missed 9 games this past year, but yeah, that was a huge, huge week for Caleb Banks.
Absolutely agree. He's got all the potential in the world, and as far as your Bengals pick with Woods or with Banks, or if it would have been Bailey, any pick in their front 7 is going to be a good pick this year.
Dalton, you're up with the Dolphins. What do we got?
I think, look, there's a lot of needs on this Miami team, including quarterback. Maybe this is a Ty Simpson team here at number 11 overall, but I think Jeff Hafley's going to want to come in here and build this defense, right? There's some talent on the defensive line this year that didn't play well. Jordan Brooks really is the captain of that linebacker crew. I think cornerback is arguably the weakest unit on this team, and I think Jeff Hafley didn't get to work really with any elite cornerbacks in Green Bay in his 2 years there. I think he's going to want to get more aggressive. He's going to want to run more man coverage in Miami than he got to at Green Bay. I just don't think he had the talent to be able to do so. I'm going to go with the guy who's arguably the best corner in college football this year. Give me LSU's Mansour Delane, 89.1 man coverage grade. He's got the size. He's got all the measurables you could want. He was outstanding for the entire season. I think this is somebody who'd be a really perfect fit in Jeff Hafley's defense. If he's trying to slow build this and build this defense, especially this secondary that has so many flaws, I think Delane would be a really good place to start.
I like the pick. I think about him. I think about Jermon McCoy. It's always up in the air like, hey, what are you going to do with Jermon McCoy, given the fact that he didn't play at all in 2025? But I think that Delane is absolutely going to be considered for those teams picking in the top 12 because of how good he was for LSU this past season. I think that makes my life pretty easy here for the Dallas Cowboys. If Sonny Styles gets to them here at number 12, this is the selection. I think that their play at the linebacker level was pretty poor, specifically before DeMarvion and Overshown came back, and he's coming back from that major knee injury, and so there's just long-term durability concerns with him. Anytime you go through an injury like that, they traded for Logan Wilson because they were trying to get better play, raise the floor from their play at the second level, but that's something that Sonny Styles can absolutely do. I think that his range honestly starts with the Washington Commanders. Where do the Commanders pick at 6 or 7?
Yeah.
I think they pick at 7, and
Trevor.
I think that's where it starts for them. I know what I'm doing. That's where it starts for Sonny Styles. And I think that the range like this, I don't even know if he gets past Dallas. Like, what are the prospects that Dallas would even pick over him? Maybe Mansour Delane, maybe Jeremiah Love if they're there, but it's a top 3. And again, if he gets to 12, then one of those other guys, but maybe both of those other guys, just like in this scenario, they're already off the board. So I think that this would make Dallas very, very happy. Sonny Styles, to me, as a former safety, is somebody who moves super well, and Ohio State had him triggering downhill so fast. He was so aggressive. He was so great against the run, never missed any tackles. He's the tone setter and the consistency that you want at the second level. So, yeah, Sonny Styles to the Dallas Cowboys at 12.
Even without a defensive coordinator hired yet, that feels like one of the most obvious player team fits in this draft. If Sonny Styles gets to the Cowboys, unless they like a cornerback better, they got to fix everything in that back 7. But if Styles gets to them at 12, I think that's a home run A-plus pick that makes their defense a lot better instantly.
We just need Tampa to get on the phone and jump ahead of them to number 11 with Miami, so then Tampa can draft Sonny Styles. But, if that doesn't happen, then if he gets to 12, I feel like he's a Cowboy.
Yep. All right.
Max? Rams.
I have the Los Angeles Rams here, number 13, via that James Pierce Jr. trade last year with the Atlanta Falcons. A couple guys were tempting to me here. Spencer Fano was a really good right tackle out of Utah, but I did like what Warren McClendon did this past year for the Rams at right tackle, so I'm going to pass on him there. Ty Simpson's tempting, man. He really is at number 13 overall. Obviously, Matthew Stafford not getting any younger, but he's coming off an MVP year. I think they want to keep the Super Bowl window as open as possible with Matthew Stafford, so I wouldn't go with a quarterback here. Maybe later on in the first round, if one of you lets me take Ty Simpson there, we'll see. I'm going to go with a guy that I think will help them win next year. That is Jermon McCoy, the corner out of Tennessee. I understood he obviously missed all this past year with a knee injury that he suffered last January, but the year before, man, he was one of the best corners in college football as only a true sophomore. 89.6 coverage grade that year. That's 9th in the country in 2024. He's got great speed for the position. I would have said this guy was a slam dunk first-round pick going into the year. Unfortunately, he didn't play at all this year, but that 2024 tape and this wide open of a draft, it's still worthy of being a top half of the first-round pick. So I think I'm going to go with the guy that's going to help the Rams win right now instead of a guy that's going to help them win maybe later and Ty Simpson. I'm going to take Jermon McCoy here.
I agree with that with the first pick. If Simpson's available later, I think you definitely think about it because it would be a great place for him to sit and a good offense for him to operate. But this team's got to get better at cornerback if they want to go all the way. That over their last 5 or 6 games especially, that was their biggest weakness, their ability to play in single coverage. I think McCoy can help.
And ever since they traded away Jalen Ramsey, it feels like they've never had like a shutdown corner since then.
Yeah,
so
they've been really patching it together and doing the best they can. Yeah.
I cannot remember who said this on Twitter, but somebody had said nobody's 2025 tape was better than Jermon McCoy's 2024 tape at the cornerback position. And I think that that's a good way to encapsulate why we still talk about him as a top 20 overall pick, because he is that talented. And he's got the size and the athleticism to be able to play those press man coverage roles, which give you so much flexibility if you could put him on an island against a team's best wide receiver. Dalton, you're up with the Baltimore Ravens here at number 14.
This is very interesting. I think you have several pretty glaring needs for the Ravens, right? Their guard spots are very much in flux right now. Their pass rushers are one of the worst in the league this year, and I still think they need receiving depth aside from Zay Flowers, right? So I think when you talk about some of these tackles, maybe a guy that could move inside the guard like a Spencer Fano could make a lot of sense. Jesse Minter coming in there as a head coach, knowing they need a pass rusher off the edge. Maybe a Cassius Howell makes some sense. Maybe TJ Parker got up in that range with his Senior Bowl performance. But, there's something about, I know Jesse Minter's a defensive coach, but when I watch this team, for years and years, it feels like wide receiver depth has been a real problem. I'm going to go on the offensive side. I'm going to build around Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go with Mekhi Lemon right here. Actually, kind of sabotaging maybe my own mission for the Jets here at 16 because I would not hate Lemon at 16 at all. But let's put Mekhi Lemon with Zay Flowers, with Mark Andrews, right, with Lamar Jackson, and try to really get this thing going. And maybe on day 2 they can find a guard or two that can help them on the inside. Maybe they figure that out in free agency as well. Tyler Linderbaum's a free agent, so they're going to have to figure out that situation too at center. But I'm going to go with Mekhi Lemon here. I'm going to finally get some receiver depth going, an explosive playmaker like Lemon for the Ravens. I think him and Flowers could cause a lot of problems in this offense.
I wondered if you were going to rig it. I wondered if you were going to rig the draft here, knowing that I was not going to take Mekhi Lemon here at number 15 for the Buccaneers, and that would, basically it would be a layup for Max to take him there for the Jets at number 16 to make you happy. So, you know what? I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing what you needed to do as an analyst. That's respectable work.
Staying neutral can be tough sometimes, Trevor. We'll see if you can do that here with Tampa. Who do you really, really want out of this group for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I don't have to be neutral at all. Cassius Howell, come on down, brother. I mean, like this team cannot get out after the passer. I mean, they have unfortunately swung and missed on pass rushers over the last couple of drafts. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka didn't develop the way that they wanted him to. I don't really think that was really why you were drafting Logan Hall, but Logan Hall didn't become the pass rusher that maybe even you wanted him to be coming out of Houston. The signing of Hassan Reddick wasn't as impactful as you wanted to. This is the team that drafted Chris Braswell as well, and he did not make a impactful presence on their defensive line in the trenches as a pass rusher the way that he needs to. And you have a guy in Cassius Howell who has had an elite pass rush grade over the last 3 seasons. Pass rush win percentages right around 18, 19, 20% in each of the last 3 seasons. And I get it. He's going to have really short arms. But this guy, the way that he gets off the ball is so impressive. He's just got a fast, frenetic pass rush style that is so difficult to stay in front of. And when I watch his tape, I even think that there's things that could get cleaned up. I even think that his footwork is a little bit erratic at times before the ball is snapped and before he gets off the ball and into the backfield. And you can get a little bit more detailed, a little bit more shored up in what he's doing. And I think he can get even better as a speed rusher. So for a team that so desperately has to get better at rushing the passer, Cassius Howell is the easiest pick here for me.
All right. I'm going to give you the Jets pick at 16. I'm actually not going to do it.
You're not going to do it?
Nope. I'm going to put the pressure on you to do it.
And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm taking Ty Simpson.
Oh, boy.
To the New York Jets. I'm going to do it.
See, I knew you'd do something I disagree with.
I'm going to do it. Listen, is Ty Simpson worth the 16th overall pick in the draft? I probably don't think so. I think he'll probably go somewhere in this range. I think the Steelers at 21 would be very interested if he does fall there. It doesn't look great right now in the Aaron Glenn era in New York, and I think one thing he could do to maybe not potentially save his job, but I think something he could do is take Ty Simpson, say, hey, give me some time with this kid, and maybe we could develop it into the franchise quarterback. If you go into next year with Justin Fields and Brady Cook and guys like that, there's not really a future there in New York. I think for Aaron Glenn, drafting whoever your next offensive coordinator is going to be, drafting Ty Simpson and telling ownership, hey, give me another year at least with Ty Simpson. Let me show whether or not he could be our franchise quarterback. That might be the best move long-term for New York instead of getting a guy that can help you win right now.
It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter which show we're on. It doesn't matter. As long as the two of us are sitting at the same desk, Max is never going to fail to do something I disagree with. It's just going to happen every single...
You took Mekhi Levin. You ruined your own pick here.
I did.
I would have taken him.
You know what? But that's because I didn't have this Jets. I wanted to see what you would do with it because I knew you would do... if it was me,
I don't love it either.
If it was me and I had that pick, which... You're keeping it. We're going Ty Simpson. Boom, it's locked in right there. I have the sticks. It's locked in. But I wouldn't take a quarterback high if I was the Jets this year. I would just build this roster. You know me, I'm in on 2027.
Who would you have taken?
Oh, let's see.
He's not a receiver I love at 16.
Go back. Would you take Caden McDonald?
I would. Caden McDonald would be a good candidate. I don't hate that. I think Avion Terrell. I think they could use some help at corner after trading away Sauce and Michael Carter this year. I think Terrell or Caden McDonald would have been options there. I think you could even think about Ioane. Maybe get John Simpson's a free agent, keep building the offense, get the Penn State left side going on the offensive line. I think Ty Simpson is a fail-safe. Like if they have a bad year next year, he's the reason for optimism, at least for New York. If you don't have him, there's no optimism. I could be a little more if for any reason Ty Simpson fell to the second and the Jets are picking first in the second round, I could be more amenable to it. I'm not taking him in the first round. If I'm the Jets, I'm not going to.
Trev, would you do on it?
I wouldn't do it.
Well, for NFL's mock draft, I took Ty Simpson at 13 of the Rams.
Oh, okay.
So
I actually like that better because he gets to sit. Because he's going to have to come in and play right away.
Oh, I know.
He's not battling Brady Cook for anything.
Again, it doesn't sound great in New York right now. There's got to be some optimism.
And the fun part is, which January 30th, we have no idea who their offensive coordinator is going to be. That's also fun. So really, if they're going to take an offensive player, we have no idea what they would want right now anyway.
It's true. I do like Ty Simpson. I think that there is an NFL starter there within him. I do think that he's got to go to the right spot, and whether that is sit for a little bit or just get the right coaching. You guys watch this. I mean, Ty Simpson was one of the best quarterbacks in college football through the first 6 weeks of the year. But then second half of the season, he really struggled specifically under pressure. So you've got to get somebody who can instill that confidence within him. He's got to be able to see the field a little bit better, and you've got to have an organization that honestly believes in him. So if the Jets do, great. If they don't, obviously pass. If you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out on him, don't draft him. But if they're all in on this player and they're willing to develop him, then yeah, I think as the offense grows, perhaps he could grow with it. But I do think that there is an NFL starter in Ty Simpson, and when that's the case, it's hard to pass them up for teams that do need young NFL starters.
The one good thing with the Jets, too, they have a decent offensive line that they're building right now. So I think that's something that's good for Ty Simpson, too. So we'll see. Maybe he leads the Jets to a Super Bowl. Maybe he leads another franchise like Sam Darnold did to a Super Bowl as well. We'll just see what happens with Ty Simpson.
We're building champions. It just takes a little longer. That's all.
Listen, the Jets drafted Sam Darnold to prevent the Patriots from winning a Super Bowl. He still might do that.
No, we'll find out next week if he does. Maybe. I'm sure we'll take all the credit for it. We will. Don't worry about it.
Dalton, you're up with the Detroit Lions at 17.
I'm thinking trenches here. I think about pass rushers. If Cassius Howell was still on the board, might have done that. I think about maybe a T.J. Parker here, but this team's identity is on the offensive line. That's been starting to erode a little bit over the last year. We don't know Taylor Decker's situation, and that could obviously influence this decision. There is a fit here that I really like for the Lions, especially the way that Dan Campbell loves his trench play. I'm going to go with Utah's Spencer Fano here. And even if Taylor Decker were to come back, there are people who think Spencer Fano could kick inside, play guard. We know he's a really good zone blocker from his time at Utah. Got a lot better in gap schemes this year with a little bit of a different offensive scheme there. I just think whether he plays tackle or guard, if you want him to play right tackle, if Decker retires, move Sewell to the left side like Tristan Wirfs did in Tampa, put Fano at right tackle. I have no issue with that. If it's Decker and Sewell again at tackle next year, then move Fano inside to guard, and you've got Mahogany and you've got Tate Ratledge probably playing center in that scenario, and Spencer Fano at a guard spot as well. I think this is a good enough, athletic enough, nasty enough run blocker as well that Dan Campbell likes, and if he's going to have some guard tackle flexibility, I think he could fix a lot in Detroit's offensive line.
I think the Lions are going to have a really good opportunity to improve both of their trenches. I think edge rusher's really deep this year, and I think that offensive line just as a whole, especially interior offensive line, there's a lot of good ones to be able to choose from, especially in the first, second, maybe third round. When we're getting a little bit later, it gets a little bit more tricky. But I think the Lions are going to have a real good opportunity to address two of their biggest needs, and so obviously you hit one here with offensive line and a guy that's got some flexibility. Before we go to the Vikings pick, our game plan of the week, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Dalton and I were talking about this a little bit earlier as well. A game plan we like for the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl: keep Kenneth Walker on the field, whether it's him as a rusher or maybe more importantly as a receiver. You don't have Zach Charbonnet anymore. I think that even when he is out there, Kenneth Walker as a receiver has been so big for this team. And, maybe we got some bets on the line. Who's to say? But I do think that it's a great game plan for the Seahawks and Clint Kubiak to lean into who Kenneth Walker is as a receiver. Just like every team starts with a great game plan, your future should as well. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect you and your family so you can focus on winning today, knowing that tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out building your dynasty or looking to lock in long-term protection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote and start building your financial game plan today. Western and Southern, built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most. Okay, we got the Minnesota Vikings now on the clock here at number 18. I think Avion Terrell could be an option for them, maybe even a Brandon Cisse at the cornerback spot. I think that if you start to think about safety as well, like your boy Dylan Thieneman, I love AJ Halsey. I don't think he's going this high, but I think he's a really great safety in this class. I like the defensive line potential more, though. I think this is where I'm going to take Caleb Banks.
All right.
Yeah. You guys already knew. You already knew where I was going with it. I think this is the Caleb Banks spot because of what I was talking about a little bit earlier. You watch him at the Senior Bowl, and I think Max was totally right. If he flops at the Senior Bowl, and if he is just not making impact plays, not standing out at all, you could have seen him back end of the second round.
Yeah.
Because you go, all right, well, you were hurt. You had a foot injury. Now you're not productive. Now we didn't even like what you were like at the Senior Bowl. I think you could have been a back end of the second round guy. But because he was so dominant and had such great flashes as his defensive tackle, I think that we could talk about him pretty high in this draft. We're back to top 20 talk with Caleb Banks. I think Lee Hunter could have also been an option here for the Minnesota Vikings, another Senior Bowl guy who I think deserves some recognition potentially around this range. Maybe we'll get him off the board soon, but I'll go Caleb Banks for the overall size and length that he has on the interior for the Vikings D-line.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Like I said, Caleb Banks, he had a point to prove at the Senior Bowl. It was actually a couple times, Trevor, he was begging the coaches when they're like, all right, guys, let's wrap it up. We're going to another drill right now. He's like, no, give me one more. Give me one more. He wanted to constantly show scouts that, hey, man, I'm worth a top 20 pick in this draft. So it was awesome week for him and great for him, man, honestly, because I mentioned before that foot injury really could have killed his stock. But that's why the Senior Bowl is such a valuable event that we have in the draft evaluation period, and Caleb Banks made the most of it.
Might also get an emergency punt returner out of him.
True.
Special teams. Special teams matters.
I'm telling you, he was competing the whole time, man. He was out there competing. So
he didn't catch his punt return rep. Let's be real about it.
Well, his team's putting two of them back there now. He can swipe one once in a while.
Sure,
it's
okay.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't want to tackle that guy. No way.
No, I wouldn't either. There's no question. Max, you've got the Carolina Panthers here at number 19. Who are you going with?
Man, TJ Parker's very tempting here. However, I think, and I like Keldrick Falk a lot, I think he's going to go higher than this range right here. I think this guy might be a top 15 pick in the draft, honestly. So I'm going to, for the sake of realism, I'm going to go with Chadwick here, the edge rusher out of Auburn. I know the Panthers are the second worst pass rush grade this past year, but you're hoping guys like Nick Scorton and maybe Princely Amon-Mielen can help out in that department. They still need help in run defense, as well, the ninth worst run defense grade in the NFL this year, too. I think any defensive lineman, whether it be a D tackle like Caden McDonald or a edge rusher like Chadwick would be a smart pick here. But I do think Chadwick would be the highest drafted of any of the guys left, so I'm going to take him here to the Panthers.
I think that's a sneaky good fit, because I think when a lot of people look at Carolina, they go, hey, we need pass rush. I still think they have good pass rushers on the roster in Nick Scorton and Princely Amon-Mielen. Like, even if you draft Chadwick Falk, like you said, the team wasn't as good in run defense as I think people realize. So you get stronger in run defense. You're hoping that Chadwick Falk obviously becomes an even better pass rusher, because I think this is someone whose tape kind of out. If you just look at the numbers for him, you're going to be disappointed in Chadwick Falk as maybe a top 20 pick. But when you watch the tape, you see so much athletic potential for a player of his size. So you've got a little bit higher of a potential ceiling for him. You get better in run defense overall. I think Nick Scorton's going to continue to grow as an even better pass rusher in year 2 and year 3 of his rookie contract. And then I think the same with Princely Amon-Mielen, who now you get to turn into a designated pass rusher that you just get to release in advantageous situations. So I haven't seen this mock draft pairing, but I really don't hate it.
I think there's a lot of picks that make sense for Carolina. Parker, like you mentioned, Caden McDonald, Chadwick Falk. If I go on the offensive side, I think Kenyon Sadiq is a sneaky one there. I think they need one of those athletic pass-catching tight ends, but I think you're right with Falk. Keep adding to this defensive line, make this run defense better instantly, and try to develop him as a pass rusher.
Dalton, you're back up with the Dallas Cowboys here.
All right, defense, as we know, is the theme. You got a linebacker in Sonny Styles already. I think that's an A-plus pick. I'm just going to go with the top corner on the board right now in Avion Terrell. This team needs all the help in the secondary they can get. Consistent, aggressive player in his last 3 years at Clemson. Forced fumbles, tackles in the run game, pass breakups, sticky in coverage. I think, look, he is a little bit undersized. Maybe he plays in the nickel, and if that's the case, I don't even care. This team needs any help in the secondary they can get. If they come out of this first round of the draft with a Sonny Styles, a star at linebacker, or even a C.J. Allen if the order was flipped, somebody at linebacker and a defensive back with these 2 first-round picks, I think that's an A-plus draft for the Cowboys. I'm going with Terrell.
That is the dream for Dallas, no doubt. I would think about Ty Simpson here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but obviously he is not on the board with Max taking him
side-eyeing me. It's so hard
a little bit earlier. At this point in time, I'm not going to consider Trinidad Chambliss. I think I just go wide receiver here. I mean, Denzel Boston or Casey Concepcion. It's kind of like, hey, do you think that Denzel Boston can coexist with DK Metcalf? I do. Or do you want somebody who's a little bit different, unlocking a little bit different types of targets for you? I'm gonna go Boston though. I am gonna go Denzel Boston. I think that absolutely DK Metcalf can coexist with Boston, and I think Boston even does some really nice work from the slot as well. We saw this past year with Washington. When you get him in the slot, I mean, he's going up against linebackers and safeties that just aren't ready for him being able to move a little bit better and more smoothly in his routes than you would think for a player who's 6'4". So I like Denzel Boston a good amount. Wide receiver, very clearly a major need for the Steelers, has to get much better. So we're drafting him, and I don't know, we'll figure out quarterback hopefully before we get to this point. So Denzel Boston over Pittsburgh.
Pardon me, I'm in on that for them. Mike McCarthy likes bigger receivers, and to create that with both DK Metcalf and Denzel Boston, I think that makes a lot of sense. That's it. If there was a left tackle candidate here, maybe you could go there as well. Maybe a Caden Proctor or a Caleb Lomu, but they need receiver depth so badly on that team, no matter who's throwing the football.
Yeah, and Trevor, you mentioned before the quarterbacks. I'm going to be real with you guys. I would be shocked if Trinidad Chambliss is in this draft. I've seen a lot of reports right now that Ole Miss is extremely confident that he's going to come back to Ole Miss for another year. He's got his court date set for February 12th, so we'll see what happens. But by all accounts, it sounds like that he will get an injunction and play next year at Ole Miss. So I do not think he'll be in this draft. So this is a pretty realistic mock draft. I just do not think Trinidad Chambliss will be eligible to be picked in this mock.
If he wants to play in the league at all, my man, drop the injunction and get in the draft. Come on. Maybe he just wants to play another year of college football, but if he has any goals at all of being an NFL player what better opportunity?
Then
You're
this
coming
draft.
off such a hot year. The quarterback class stinks. Like, oh, come on, man. That's fascinating to me. It's a fascinating part of all this. And obviously, this is a major NIL storyline, of course, because, if you weren't getting the NIL money, you wouldn't even be considering this. But because you are, we are watching a college quarterback who is on the older side, who obviously is only getting older because that's how age works, tell the NFL that he's going to put the NFL off just to go back for the NIL money and to start again at Ole Miss.
And by the way, go compete with Julian Sayin, Dante Moore, Arch Manning, in next year's draft. I thought Dante Moore made a mistake by not going in this year's draft, considering he might have been a top 3 pick in the draft. But yeah, I'm kind of with you at Trinidad Chambliss too. But hey, man, Ole Miss reportedly has like a $5+ million offer for him right now, so that's still a lot of money too. So we'll see what happens with them.
And do whatever makes you happy. Max, you're back up here with the Chargers at 22.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny $5 million if anyone offers it to me. But Chargers here, this is
That's
a slam
good that you
dunk.
got
We
that
learned
out
you
of
can
the
be
show
bought
just in
out pretty
case.
easily.
I
You probably take a lot less than
you
that.
give me a handshake on the sideline, and I'm yours. I'm yours. So, this is a slam dunk pick here for the Chargers. I know they had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. Eli already knows Dalton already knows who I'm picking here. With
Penn State homer really is what this is.
Olav Avenga.
Eli probably also knows.
Eli knows, Tyler knows, the entire city of Los Angeles knows where I'm going with this pick right here. Olav Avenga Ioane, the Penn State guard here. I know the Chargers had injuries along the offensive line with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt going down. Those two unreal tackles coming back would be a great boost to that offensive line. Chargers still had the lowest graded interior offensive line in the NFL this past year too. So it's not just the injuries to the tackles that made them the worst offensive line in football. It's straight up why they lost to New England in that wild card round. They could not block for Justin Herbert in that game. Ioane would be a really big addition to their interior offensive line at guard. He's been an excellent pass blocker at Penn State in his career. I think this is a slam dunk pick here for the Chargers.
Yep.
Too easy. We're going to get so bored of this pick because it just makes too much sense for him, and it's right in the wheelhouse of Vega Owane's range. Dalton?
Absolutely.
Philadelphia Eagles.
23, Philadelphia. I would think about cornerback here. Maybe a Brandon Cisse, maybe a Keith Abney makes some sense here. I think CB2 is very much on the board. I also think about Dallas Goedert being a free agent. And the tight end is so essential to this offense, and they just don't. And actually, right now, they don't even have an offensive coordinator, but it feels like Nick Sirianni's kind of taking control of this thing, right? So I think what you're looking at for Philadelphia.
Sean Mannion was named.
Sean Mannion. You're right. Was named today. Sean Mannion was named the offensive coordinator. I think today. You're correct about that. That's news, right? So I mean, either way, if Dallas Goedert does leave, this team is going to need a tight end. I think a playmaker like Kenyon Sadiq could make a lot of sense, especially if Mannion is going to try to run a similar offense to Matt LaFleur, kind of that Shanahan-style offense. You need a tight end who can move and win after the catch, especially Sadiq is athletic enough to do that. Again, cornerback is a major consideration here, but I think we can work on that on day 2. I'm going to go with the top tight end on the board, Kenyon Sadiq to Philadelphia.
Yeah, and this is one where I think Howie's just drafting the talent, right? I think that Howie's just taking a very rare tight end talent and saying, hey, is he, the finished product that we want him to be yet as a receiver? No, but the kid's really good at blocking. I mean, he is the way that this dude is built. I mean, what is he like 4% body fat? I mean, the dude's absolutely shredded and jacked at the same time. I mean, he did the athleticism, the off the bus test with this guy passes with flying colors. And I hope he works out at the combine. It feels like that's a trend for guys to not work out at the combine, but selfishly, I want to see it from him just to see the freakish athleticism on display. But I do think that this is very much a Howie Roseman pick, and it's a Sean Mannion pick, like you mentioned, Dalton, with them coming from having Luke Musgrave and having Tucker Kraft and just that overall philosophy of the offense and getting tight ends involved. So I do think that this is
the only question: would a former Oregon State quarterback draft the Oregon Duck?
Oh, yeah,
I don't think
rivalry.
Sean
Good
Mannion's
point.
going to have the biggest say in that regard.
Well, because he had an Oregon State guy in Musgrave, right? So he got his guy over there. But would he draft the Oregon Duck with man first offensive?
Again, I don't think.
Man,
throw out the mock draft. It's over.
I don't think that he's going to have that much control over the pick.
Crumple it up, throw it away. It's done.
Yep, we're done.
I blew it. I blew it at 23. Just ended at 23. It's over. You blew it at 16, actually.
We've talked a little bit already here on this show about some of the Super Bowl bets that you could place coming up for the big game. we've got a PFF player prop tool that if you have a PFF subscription, you guys have probably known for a while now, but if you don't, you got to check it out, utilize it before the Super Bowl if you haven't seen it. You see that right here.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.
You guys can see that and so much more with a PFF Plus subscription. Subscribe.pff.com is the easy way to get there. Cleveland Browns now back on the clock here on this post-Senior Bowl mock draft. I believe I gave them Francis Mauigoa at the top of the draft. I believe that was.
Are you going to double up? That could be a question here with some of the names on the board. Could you double up and just full tilt? Maybe.
Oh,
I mean,
I have no issue doubling up. None. I mean, you got Caleb Lomu who's on the board. Monroe Freeling is on the board. Blake Miller is on the board. Jennings Dunker at the guard spot. Caden Proctor is still there. I have no reservations about doing that. However, I'm going to pick Casey Concepcion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm going to take Concepcion here. I think he's immediately the number. Well, all due respect to Harold Fant. I think at the receiver position, he's immediately the number one playmaker here on this team, even going into next season. Really loved how Casey Concepcion improved as a traditional wide receiver this past season. You know, we talked a lot during the summer about him coming over to Texas A&M from NC State, where NC State was kind of just like, hey, let's get the ball in this guy's hands in any way, shape, or form. And it's like, all right, that's cool. For college, it doesn't really develop you to the NFL level. And I think that he developed a lot more as a receiver this year with A&M, which was great to see. Really improved the route running. You saw the yards after catch ability was still there from him, using that good juice and athleticism before and after the ball, which I think that was new to see him be able to do that at A&M. So worthy of a first-round selection, taking him for the Cleveland Browns here at number 24.
I'm in on it. Todd Monken maybe trying to find the Zay Flowers of his new offense. I think that makes a lot of sense. And you get a dynamic punt returner there as well.
Yep.
Max, back on the clock with the Bears.
Yeah, I have the Bears here at 25. This is also a pretty easy pick as a top player on the board right there, Caden McDonald. I thought about TJ Parker again here because I do really love him. I think he was the best player at the Senior Bowl this week. But you look at the Bears right now, they did not have a single defensive tackle that even earned a 60 PFF grade this year. Is
Dalton running the simulator?
Yeah,
he is.
Because he had Caden McDonald pulled up before you even started what you were talking about.
Ever since the Ty Simpson pick, he stopped trusting me with doing any of these picks. He was just taking whoever he wants.
I knew where you were going. I just that's certain. We've done this long enough that I just knew. I'm like he's taking this brick wall, and honestly, it's going to be not fun at all if this were the pick to try to block Caden McDonald when it's 0 degrees out there at Soldier Field.
Oh my God,
that'd just be a nightmare for opposing offensive line. I already knew you were. I knew you were going here. That's probably the third or fourth pick already. I'm like, yeah, he's gonna do the obvious thing. I already you got
like Tyson, right? I mean, like people talk about edge rusher. We talk about edge rusher for this team and talk about safety for this team, but like defensive tackle also a pretty big need for them. So I could absolutely see it.
Cool. Thanks.
Dalton McDonald. There you go. I actually would have really thought about taking him here for the Bills as well, because the Bills have needs all over.
Wow, Deion Walker slander?
Yeah, don't do that, man. That's my boy.
You need depth. We know you need defensive line depth. Trevor, come on.
You only need one.
You need 7 or 8 of them.
No,
you only
the thing
need
about
one
football.
defensive.
You only need
and
one.
maybe for the Cleveland Browns, you only need one. But,
He got a pick in the divisional round, Deion Walker.
He did.
He runs a 4.6.
Good player. You imagine?
Yeah.
Caden McDonald?
In theory.
Don't make me pick Lee Hunter right now to spite.
No, don't do it.
I'll do it. I'm not going to do it.
Makes sense.
Nope, I'm actually
threatening.
I'm going to go with
threatening to put a good football player on the Bills.
Yeah, seriously.
How dare I? Jeez. Anyway, I'm going to go with the other guy you were just thinking about in TJ Parker. I'm going to pair TJ Parker with Greg Rousseau, a couple of former ACC pass rushers, a couple of similar players, but I think they can both get the job done on opposite sides. Really good run defender. We saw Parker play so well, arguably the best player down in Senior Bowl week this week in Mobile, and you just saw the violence, the long arm, the violent hands, the attitude he plays with, and in team drills, even setting the edge in the run game. Look, Joey Bosa was really good for them as a pass rusher this year, but I think at this point he's more of a rotational pass rusher. You don't really want him in there on early downs. Even if they re-sign Bosa, I think Parker would be extremely valuable. You would finally have an edge pairing in Rousseau and Parker that you can leave out there on early downs, and then obviously Parker can continue to develop as a pass rusher. So I'm going to get our first Senior Bowl guy off the board here, Clemson's TJ Parker.
No, I got Caleb Banks earlier.
Oh, did we? Sorry, my bad.
Come on now.
You're right. Sorry, I forget about the Gator greats sometimes. I forgot, Trevor. I'm sorry. Listen. It's been a long week. We got off the plane like an hour ago and just stepped right in here and started doing this. Been a long week.
You're telling me, brother.
Okay. You already know. Anyway, TJ Parker, the second Senior Bowl player to the Buffalo Bills. We're definitely getting some sleep this weekend is what's happening. Anyway.
Just go 49ers. 49ers at 27.
Throwing this out there, Concepcion would have been such a fun pick right here. I love the match with him with Shanahan. But anyway, you don't get that option because you stole it from
There's no doubt.
Way to go.
The two names that I immediately think about here are actually right next to each other. Akeem Messidor's one, because you got to get better at rushing the passer.
Yep.
And he is, without question, the best one who's left. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's the other one. Because I like Jair Brown, I like Malik Mustafa, but I think they need a more playmaking guy on the back end. And I think that they would be very happy with that 3-man rotation where it's more of a Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown rotation, and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is sort of that full-time safety that's back there for them. So I think safety is like a sneaky potential need for them there.
Do we get another? We got Quinyon Mitchell 2 years ago. Do we get another Toledo Rocket in the first round? Wow.
Oh yeah, I think McNeil-Warren's absolutely in play to go in round 1.
Yeah.
How about it? I personally would probably lean Mesidor just because that Niners defensive line, if need is the tiebreaker, then their biggest need is on the defensive line.
No question. And they were so poor at it when Nick Bosa went down. And I just don't think Michael Williams is ever going to be that guy. Give me Akeem Messidor. He is perfect as a back end of the first round player because I think his tape is worthy of going top 15 in this draft. His age obviously is probably going to make it to where he's a back end of the first round, maybe even more likely an early second round type of a player, but he's a ready-made pass rusher, and you really can't say that very often with any rookie, but we know that he played with so much detail and success in Miami under Jason Taylor, their defensive line coach, and to me, I mean, he is somebody who is quite literally a plug-and-play type of a pass rusher that they really need. So we're going Messidor for the Niners there at 27.
Yeah, love it. He was phenomenal this past year at Miami. He's often forgotten about because of how good his teammate was in Ruben Bain Jr., but he was easily one of the 4 or 5 best edge rushers in college football this year.
All right, back to you, Max.
Yeah, I'm going to take a guy that I'm actually high on in this draft, and I think a lot of people are slandering him a little bit too much right now. It's Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. And I understand the concerns. Maybe he has to play guard at the next level, but guess what? The Texans also need guards, too. So I think Caden Proctor will be a good pick here. He was a guy that I didn't love the tape, honestly, from his first 2 years of college. I don't think people are appreciating how good he was this past year at Alabama. See right there, an 86.1 PFF grade, one of the highest graded tackles we had in the country, one of only 7, I believe, tackles in the country with 80-plus grades as a pass blocker and run blocker. He played great in some huge, huge games for Alabama this year, too. I think Caden Proctor's kind of getting a little underrated right now in this draft. He probably will still be a first-round pick, but I would put him up there with Spencer Fano and Francis Mauigoa in this draft, and I think he's certainly worthy of being a pick right here to the Texans.
Here's why Go ahead, Trev. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree with you that I think he is now getting underrated. I think that we looked at Caden Proctor and we're looking at him through the lens of a potential top 5 overall pick like he might have been. And okay, maybe he's not a top 5 overall pick. And to be honest with you, I don't even think he's a tackle at the next level.
Sure.
But I think he is like a dream guard. I really do. Like, he carries 360 pounds about as well as any human being possibly could. His first step is explosive. It's just the steps that follow when he's on an island in pass pro that, okay, they aren't as good. But a behemoth with his upper body strength, I mean, he's so tough to move. He can anchor so easily. To me, if you're telling me that Caden Proctor is a guard, I think that's a top 20 player, especially in this class. So if he gets to Houston here at 28, I'd feel great about this if I was a Texan.
And for that very reason, I was going to bring up your thoughts on that too. And for Houston, they have flexibility to take a tackle here because they also have Titus Howard, who has so much experience both at tackle and guard. So they can really just take the most talented offensive lineman here, regardless of position, and figure it out in training camp. Figure it out later. If Titus has to play guard and Proctor looks good at tackle with Ursary out there, cool. If Proctor's going to be a guard, fine, and you got that big interior presence in Nick Caley's duo schemes. To me, if you're Houston, take the most talented offensive lineman, take the top offensive player, or I should say offensive lineman on your board, regardless of where he played in college, because you can figure it out because you have Titus Howard.
I agree. Dalton, you're up here with the Rams.
This is actually a hard one now. Because they just have so.
Who did the Rams take? Who did the Rams take in the first?
We got a corner.
Earlier?
We got Jermod McCoy the first time around. So I think you could think about more receiver depth if they really need it that badly. You can always add depth in the trenches. I did this. I forget if it was with you, Trev, or maybe with I forget which mock draft. I've done a million mock drafts already, and I think about. I think I'm going to go back to a strategy that I had in a previous mock draft. I'm going to double up. I'm going to pull Philadelphia Eagles and double up here. I'm between Cisse and Abney because they're so similarly talented. They got a little bit different skill set. I really like Abney in zone coverage. You see the zone coverage grade there, which, if Chris Shula is staying as defensive coordinator, then I think they need to get back to more of their zone-heavy approach they had early in the year. I thought they ran too much man-to-man coverage. I'm going to go with Arizona State's Keith Abney here. I'm going to double up at corner. I'm going to fix what clearly is this team's biggest weakness. Without Ty Simpson on the board, we don't have that as an option. I'm just going to attack this secondary and try to win a Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, and you have the luxury to do it because they're just one of the best teams in the NFL, and more so than that, they're also young. They're young in the trenches. They're on both sides of the ball. Like, the linebacker level is good enough. They don't really prioritize linebacker super early anyways. I mean, they're pretty good at the safety spots depending on what happens with Cam Curl this free agency period. If they is Cam Curl a free agent? Am I remembering that correctly?
I think he is, actually.
Yeah, I think he is.
I'm pretty sure he is, yeah.
I think he is.
McNeil Warren could be an option there. Thieneman could be an option there
safety
as well.
if the free agency need manifests. But I absolutely think they could go back-to-back defensive back here. That puts the Broncos on the clock here at number 30. This one's pretty easy for me. The Broncos are a really, really talented football team, but C.J. Allen, I think, immediately becomes their best linebacker. So to me, he is somebody who had a lot on his plate. Georgia asked him to do a lot of things. You see that run defense grade there from the true coverage grade. Okay, it wasn't as consistent as it could have been or should have been this past season, but I think this is a linebacker prospect who is built like a legit NFL linebacker who there's plenty of reason to believe that he is only going to get better as he plays in the league. So I think, like I mentioned, I think he's the best linebacker on this team probably. Well, I don't want to disrespect veterans like that because no rookie is really able to just step in and be the best right away. But I think he could very quickly be one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker on their team pretty quickly in next season as this team gets Bo Nix healthy and eyes another deep playoff run here.
It makes a lot of sense. He was a terrific run defender throughout his time in Georgia. And I think you mentioned before the Broncos, one of their biggest needs, one of their only needs really on the team is linebacker. So I think it makes a lot of sense there for Denver.
Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad, both free agents, too. That's going to be a big deal in the offseason.
Right.
Yeah.
31?
31. New England Patriots. This is a little hard, too, because there's a couple places I could go here. I'm actually going to stick on the offensive line for New England. And I know they took Will Campbell with the top 5 pick last year. I'm going to take Caleb Lomu here, the offensive tackle out of Utah, because I think he maybe could switch over to right tackle. I know Morgan Moses right now is about 35 years old. So he's getting up there in age. I know there's some concerns. I'm not saying I'm one of them just yet, but there's some concerns for some people. Does Will Campbell have to play guard eventually for New England too? So I think Lomu, just getting him in there, he could play right tackle if you need him to. Maybe take over at left tackle if you want to put Will Campbell in at guard, which I wouldn't do just yet. You could let him prove that he needs to play guard before you would do that with the top 5 pick. But I do think regardless, New England should add more to their offensive line right now. And a guy like Caleb Lomu, who probably will be somewhere around a top 25 pick in the draft, I think it's a pretty good value here for New England at 31.
Continue to build in the trenches. Offensive line, and obviously you mentioned a veteran out there in Morgan Moses. I think maybe they even look into a center for the future to possibly replace Garrett Bradbury down the line. And then on the defensive side, they're going, at some point, whether it's first round or later, they are going to be looking for edge rushers on this team. Their interior pass rush is outstanding, obviously led by Milton Williams, but they are going to be digging into this deep edge defender class.
Yeah.
I think Gabe Akis from the Senior Bowl is a perfect fit for the New England Patriots. Now, I don't know if they would pick him here at number 31, but I think that he had a good enough week in Mobile to where you start thinking about him back end of the first round, more likely the top of the second round. But hey, if you like a player like this who's this explosive, has that pass rush and run defense combination, I could see it here at the back end of the first round, especially if he's a fit, if he's as good of a fit as he would be for a team like New England.
Caleb Lomu at 31, that leaves us with the Seattle Seahawks. I think you do have some options. If there's an interior offensive lineman here that they like, I do think they're going to get into that somewhere in the first 3 rounds. I think secondary cornerback could also be something they attack with Tariq Woolen being a free agent. I think receiver depth behind Jackson Smith and Jigba could help a lot. Chris Bell, somebody like him, could be an option if he's healthy. Jeremy Bernard. Emmanuel Pregnon, I think if he moves over to the right side, I think could definitely be an option for them. I'll tell you guys right now, the 2 guys I'm stuck between actually looking at the Seahawks' very few needs and just where they're at as a franchise. I think it's either Pregnon or I go corner and I go Brandon Cisse. Any thoughts on those 2 guys?
I would go Cisse. Actually, if you look at the analysis tab for us in the mock draft simulator, you can see right there 64% of Seahawks fans take a corner in mock. So I think Cisse is worth the first-round pick in this draft. Wasn't as impressed with Colton Hood this past week at the Senior Bowl either, so I would take Cisse personally over Pregnon right
Trev?
now.
I think I'd take Pregnon, actually. So I'm splitting the difference. We're going 1-1, and now Dalton's got to make a decision. So who knows if I actually believe that? I just want to put Dalton on the spot here at number 32 to end this.
Who knows if I actually believe that is a diabolical saying to end this draft with. Wow, that is just... You know what? Max has been acting a fool this entire time.
Come on.
I'm going with Trev. I'm going... listen,
There's
nothing
there
wrong
it
with taking a
is.
starting offensive lineman.
And he was, I would say right now, he was by far the best guard in college football this year. I remember we did, Dalton, we did our College 101, ranking the top 101 players in college football. Trevor, we had Pregnon somewhere in the 30s. The next guard was like number 80-something. So he was easily, in my opinion, the best guard in college football this year. So it does make sense here for the Seahawks.
We're going with it. They want to run the football. They can get even better at it. Put Pregnon on that left side, on that right side at right guard. Zabel on the left side. They're going to be really good if they add him to this mix.
Anytime you have even kind of a trench need, I'm just going to lean towards, just get more talented there. It just means so much to the game. There we go, folks. That is our post-Senior Bowl mock draft that we have here for the 2026 NFL Draft. Like I mentioned, I've been updating the big board throughout the week as the Senior Bowl has been going on, so you guys can run mock drafts, as many mock drafts as you want for yourself. If you have a PFF Plus subscription, you can see everything on the big board, as well as we are continuing to fill out the player notes, the strength and weaknesses, the summaries of these players, some player comps, some scheme fits, all that great stuff. You can see that and so much more with that PFF Plus subscription. We appreciate everybody watching and listening, all of our Senior Bowl coverage that we had all week long. We love that event, like Max was saying, it's one of our favorite events of the year, and getting to do that content is a lot of fun. So we will be back with you guys next week. For everybody behind the glass and behind the scenes producing the show, for Max Chadwick, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you so much for watching another episode of the PFF NFL show. We'll see you guys next week.